Good morning, everyone. Today we are headed towards Mount Hakodate, an inactive volcano at the southern end of Hakodate City. Standing at just 334 meters tall, it has been rated to have a very, very nice view up there. Let's get going. So now that we're at the foot of Mount Hakodate, behind me is the Hakodate ropeway station. I did go inside and get myself a paper map so that we don't get lost again. And hopefully we'll know where we're going this time, because I don't know where Alice is. I think she's busy potatoing inside of the ryokan somewhere. But I am going to hike this mountain. It says that it takes about 1 hour to get up there. We'll see. Okay, so we are on the actual trail to head up the mountain now. I just passed by a map that says that it should take about 45 minutes. It's about 1.9 kilometers. So far feeling like it's going to be a good hike. The path is not too muddy despite raining yesterday. It's nice, gravelly, and more importantly, it's shaded. So that's going to be nice. We're going to see where this takes us. There's a couple of viewpoints that we're going to be able to see at the top of the mountain, so hopefully those are nice, and I'll see you all at the top. Okay, so that was the view from nearly at the top of the mountain. We're almost at the top. Should be just up these couple of stairs, and I think I already see what I believe to be the other end of the ropeway, which is also where the observation deck is located. So let's make it up there. One final push, let's go. All right, so here we are at the top of Mount Hakodate, and behind me you can see the actual Hakodate city kind of laid out before you. And what's really interesting for me is that you can actually see where the landmass narrows, because Hakodate Mountain used to not be connected to Hakodate City. In fact, a long time ago, it used to be just a sandbar. Well, this is obviously before civilization developed. But as the years went on, more and more sand piled up on that sandbar, so that Hakodate Mountain is connected to Hakodate as we see today. So I'm heading back down the mountain, but as I was at the top, I realized that nearby, apparently there were some battery guns, so artillery emplacements left over on Mount Hakodate from World War II, where they had effectively put artillery because they were worried about an invading force, either, I suppose, from Russia or the US, considering that this is quite far up north. But let's go check them out. Okay, so here we are. I didn't recognize what I was seeing at first, because a lot of it is actually quite overgrown. But if you look at this, what looks to at first just be like a gutter, underneath there's actually a tunnel. And well, I can't go into that tunnel because they have fenced everything off, and I like to not provide incriminating evidence. These tunnels were apparently used for the storage as well as the resting of the soldiers if there ever were an airstrike. And then these circles was where they actually had the cannon and howitzer emplacements, so that it could fire. And you can see on this side, it's protected by a ledge, so it's not really that easy to just destroy, because despite being at the top of the mountain and having clear view, they are somewhat protected by kind of digging down just a little bit below the kind of surroundings, so that they have a bit of natural fortification and defense. And then finally, even though I came from this road up here, this tunnel down here, there's another tunnel. It's partially blocked now by a bit of a landslide, but there's a tunnel at the end of this, and that was actually used in order to ferry supplies and more ammunition in and out. All right, so we're leaving the gun battery behind and we're gonna start heading down the mountain. I'm gonna take a slightly different path to get down this time, just to be able to hit an additional viewpoint. But once we get down the mountain, I'm gonna give my feet a much needed rest and try to go visit the Hakodate Red Brick Warehouse District. Let's get going.
I will say, as I was hiking along the mountain, I did come across one inexplicable curiosity. As far as I was aware, Mount Hakodate was not associated with Buddhism. It didn't have any major temples, shrines, or statues on the mountain, but I kept stumbling upon these different Buddhism and Buddha statues. I'm not sure if they were there for protection or for prayer, but there were a lot. And I mean a lot. Like a metric ton. I still don't know how many Buddha statues there are on the mountain, because I definitely only encountered a handful during my hike, and there are surely more waiting to be discovered.
All right, so obviously I made it off the mountain and we're heading down into main Hakodate now, but we are headed towards the Kanemori red brick warehouses, which is warehouses that were originally used for foreign trade and foreign settlement when Hakodate was opened up to trade with foreign countries such as the US and UK. This also means that some of these structures have been left behind, and actually, kind of like Otaru, shows very, very heavy Western influence. In fact, in front of me right now is a Catholic church. Not sure exactly when it was built, but you can see it's still very well maintained. They're still maintaining it even today, but really goes to show you the amount of foreign influence that was present in Hakodate. So you can see that the insides of these warehouses are still reasonably well preserved, but it's been completely modernized into quite a modern shopping mall. Honestly, you can't see it through the video, but the amount of food smells are making me really hungry right now. But unfortunately, we don't have time for lunch. We are going to be still trying to find where the plaza is, and I think I took a wrong turn. All right, maybe when I get myself unlost, I'll see you all again.
Eventually finding my way to the central plaza, I had a moment to appreciate the view around me. Contrasting with Mount Hakodate from earlier in the day, it was quite nice, honestly, to be at sea level and enjoying the breeze. Walking along the various piers, I kind of began to understand why the warehouses, with their picturesque seaside view, had been transformed into a modern, sprawling shopping complex.
That being said, I'm not here to do much shopping. I already got my own t-shirt from the top of Hakodate Mountain. So let's head next to an old fort that's located a little bit further inland relative to Hakodate. Alright, so here we are at Goryokaku Koen, which today is a park, but as you might suspect, based off of just looking at the surroundings behind me, especially you'll notice here that I'm standing on a point. And there are actually 5 of these such points in the park, because this park, Goryokaku, used to be a fort. Now, back during the 1860s, this fort saw the site of one of the last stands of the Ezo Republic against the Imperial Japanese Army before the Meiji Empire took over Japan. Now, today it is just a park, so I'm going to walk around, show everyone what there is to see, and let's go find out. So I'm standing on one of the many points in this fort right now, and you can just see that this bridge is one of the only ways to get in and out of this fort. So you can imagine if you were an army coming in, not only on this side would you have cannons, you'd also have cannons flanking on the other side. Quite intimidating trying to cross a river with cannons firing on you 24/7. Okay, so coming off of the fort and heading to the center of the fort, you will see that there is this old structure that's left behind, and this was used as the original headquarters of that Ezo Republic that had been established in a final last stand of Hakodate. They had actually landed here after forming a second rebellion, since the main army was defeated by the Imperial Japanese army back on the Honshu mainland, and so they had escaped north and set up their headquarters here. What ended up happening was a series of naval losses made it so that them trying to withstand a siege in this fort became very untenable, and they eventually surrendered when the Imperial Japanese Navy and Army showed up.
Having finished my tour of Fort Goryokaku, it was finally time for me to get some food, and I was honestly famished after going to the hike and going shopping, so I wanted something really good for dinner. The problem is there actually wasn't that many options near the fort.
I'm looking for dinner, and literally right outside of the park I found this Hakodate unique chain, but that clown is so intimidating. This is gonna haunt me in my nightmares.
So I eventually found my way to a small restaurant called Aoi Shokudo, where I ordered a sashimi set, and let me just say, it was probably the best sashimi I ever had. The shrimp was sweet and almost buttery with a very thick and soft texture. It's sweet shrimp, but it honestly was very, very nice. The seared bonito, I at first thought was ahi tuna, but it was very refreshing thanks to the ginger, and the texture was the perfect mix of firmness on the outside giving way to a soft inner flesh. Just a slight hint of smokiness. The salmon was very fresh as you would expect, but what really surprised me was the white fish with a red skin. I found it to be very light, but it had a surprisingly firm texture that contrasted with the otherwise quite light meat flavor. The tuna, which I believe was a belly cut, was soft and fatty, a very, very thick, rich cut, and I was actually caught off guard by what I thought were cold noodles at the beginning, but they were in fact strips of squid. Firm and chewy, they gave an amazing contrast in texture without being fishy at all. On top of that, the teishoku came with an oden, which was just stewed radish, tofu, so on and so forth, but they also came with a chawanmushi that I initially thought was going to be savory, but ended up being surprisingly sweet. Pickled daikon was the perfect accompaniment, giving a crunch as well as a slight contrast in texture to everything else present in the set.
Alright, so that was dinner. I am now heading back to the ryokan, and we really saw a lot of things today. Everything from Hakodate Mountain, as well as the World War II gun emplacements situated on a mountain, to kind of the warehouses along the coast, as well as even a European castle ruin that is still located within Hakodate. If you're still watching at this point, thank you so much for watching. See you all in the next one.